We all know what's going on up here.
Yes.
But we often wonder what's going on down in the States. Are they talking about our guys up there or down there? And I know one guy continues to pump their tires on Twitter, and I believe he has brought it to ESPN. He's a longtime NBAer and current ESPN NBA analyst. Back on Overdrive, here is Kendrick Perkins. Are you leading the charge down there in terms of hyping up the Raptors or what?
Absolutely. I've been rolling with the Raptors since the beginning of before the season even started. And for the simple fact, I said, man, the Raptors are well coached. They have one of the deepest rosters in the league, and they're battle tested. And they're proving me right. I'm one of the few that's down here representing for the Canadian family.
Attaboy. Yeah, 14 in a row would do that, you would think anyway. I mean, regardless of who's doing it. But, they play elite defense. I think that was the big concern when Kawhi left is we were focused on – that assassin in the fourth quarter, a guy who can go off like we saw against Golden State and Milwaukee and, lead them on a 10-0 charge by himself, 15-2 charge by himself. But playing elite defense and being coached the way that they're coached by Nick Nurse, what do you think that can do for them come the spring, come the playoffs?
Well, I think it's just going to carry over. See, my thing is that when you watch this Raptors team, they're developing great habits already. And to me, they know their roles. Guys know where they stand. They're comfortable on the offensive end and the defensive end. And when you got guys buying into your system like that, and to me, from the outside looking in, they look like a true family. Like, they look like they enjoy each one another on and off the court, and it shows. So, to me, that just gives them more, more preparation going into the postseason. To say that already, I think, 7 of those guys from the finals, the championship team are still there, so they're battle tested. And then you add a rookie like Terrence Davis, who I don't understand, don't get enough credit, who comes in and plays extremely well. And then Norman Powell, the way he was playing, if he wouldn't have got hurt, I think he would have been up for Sixth Man of the Year the way he was coming off the bench, tearing people up. So, you have Fred VanVleet who's playing at an all-star level. I mean, all these guys have bought into Nick Nurse's system and playing their role at an extremely high level.
Kendrick, I find it crazy to hear you say you used it twice, buy in. Does it not shock you that more players on different teams, that's the whole idea, isn't it, to buy into the system that the coaches put in place, and that allows everyone to have success, and it's just some players refuse to do it?
Well, it starts from the top. So when you have a guy like, in my opinion, who is Mr. Raptor, and people could argue or whatever, but in my opinion, a guy like Kyle Lowry, who sets the example, he's the leader on the team. So when you see a guy like that that's willing to sacrifice and buy in, it trickles down. So once your main guy has bought into the system, everybody else has to fall in line. And I love it because the Raptors have a great mixture of veteran guys and young guys. So, but it's not like that around the league. You see a couple teams. You see the Bucks, the Raptors, the Celtics, the Lakers. I don't know if even the Clippers have all the way bought in yet because they're so up and down. But I tell you what, man, it's impressive to watch this Raptor team, and I love watching them play.
With Kendrick Perkins here on Overdrive, where does Nick Nurse rank for you in terms of the Coach of the Year debate?
Ooh, I tell you what, in no particular order, he's up there. Like, it's top 5 if he's not number 1. To me, this is a year that's hard to – it's so many coaches that's doing a great job right now. Nick Nurse is one of them. Obviously, Mike Budenholzer for – Milwaukee, where he got them right back at, pushing for 70 wins. Nate McMillan, Brad Stevens, all these guys are doing a great job, like, with their ball club. So, to me, if Nick Nurse, it wouldn't be a surprise if Billy Donovan. It wouldn't be a surprise if Nick Nurse win Coach of the Year because he's doing an excellent job. Like I said, the Raptors are number 2 in the East. Nobody expected that except me. But they're number 2. They're number 2 in the East. I called it. I knew this team was good. They're well coached, and I look forward to watching them every night. I watch the Raptors play every single night. I don't miss a game.
Well, I think the only thing holding up people up in Toronto, I would assume throughout the NBA, from maybe putting them on the same level as Milwaukee and the two LA teams, is they don't have Giannis, LeBron, Kawhi. They got Siakam. They got Lowry. I mean, once you get to that second layer, I would say they're as deep as anybody, if not deeper than any of those teams. But does that, like, how are they going to get over that hump? How do they prove it that they can outscore Giannis if they have to? They can outscore if they get to a finals and they play LeBron or play Kawhi. I mean, how do they overcome that potential hurdle without a true, lights out superstar offensively?
How they doing it right now? They're doing it together and collectively. When you have a team that any given night you got maybe six guys that are capable of going for 20 plus, Siakam, Serge, Lowry, Powell, Gasol is due for some huge nights. He always come along in the playoffs. Van Vliet. When you have with Terrence Davis, when you have that many guys and that many weapons, and like I said, in the playoffs, especially when I was with the Celtics, we always used to say, "Hey, every night is gonna be somebody else's night," and that's the beauty of having depth, like the Raptors do. You just never know. It's just every night somebody different step up, and that's just you got to give Masai Ujiri a lot of credit for keep building this team or whatever and keeping this team relevant throughout the offseason.
Always great catching up with you, Kendrick. We'll do it again down the road.
I appreciate it, fellas, anytime.
There he is, Kendrick Perkins, longtime NBA champion, ESPN NBA analyst.
I like what he said about the depth, but there's something inside me that thinks that there's that you got to have that ultra-talented guy, that alpha dog that can take the next step, and it's just like Kawhi. I don't know.
But that's why he asked about basically the three players outside of, everyone's they're super deep, and there's that second tier of superstar, but
that's why I know why he asked it. I'm just saying I don't necessarily agree with that.
Well, until it's proven, right? Like, how many teams over the past 20 years? You got that Pistons team where they had
Rip Hamilton and
they had Rip and they had Chauncey Billups and Ben Wallace and Rasheed. They had a bunch of really good players, but they didn't necessarily have Kobe or Shaq or Duncan or LeBron. But that's one example you can think of over the past 20 years. And relying on a different guy to step up every single night, we'll see what happens come the spring. That's what's going to have to happen. I do think someone's going to have to elevate. And I have faith that Lowry can do that. I have faith that Siakam can do it. But, sometimes in the NBA and in the playoffs, it's going to come down to like two guys, one guy on each team who a race for 40 points and who can hit the last shot.
Right.
The Raptors are not built that way, but
the Raptors do defend.
They defend at an elite level.
And that's where
it's not sexy to talk about. It's not sexy to project what a great defensive team is going to bring to you come the spring. But it's a factor. It's just as equally as important as offense.
That's what people will be talking about. You go through the list of when Kawhi and LeBron and who else was on that list. There was top 5 players. Giannis was another one where this guy's had 12 points against the Raptors.
Right.
Like that's how they're going to have to win.
Yep.
If you're facing up against that elite talent.
Yeah, and that's valid. If you keep the other guys in check or the opposition in check to a reasonable number, then you don't necessarily need some guy to go off for 40. Right? But, I have faith in Siakam, Van Vliet, Lowry. Terrence Davis is young. Like, he's a rookie. I don't know what he's going to do come the playoffs. We'll find out. How healthy is Gasol going to be after what's been a very difficult, injury-riddled season? We'll find out. Powell, the same thing. He's had a great year, but he keeps running into these injury problems. At some point, is it going to make him stumble a little bit? That's on Nick Nurse to find out, but I'll say this about Nick Nurse. I got all the faith in the world in him devising a game plan that's going to work, or at least keep them in it.
Agreed.
Like, this is not a team that's going to get smoked by anybody.
No.
Like, I don't picture a team in the NBA, whether it's Milwaukee, the Clippers, or the Lakers, that could beat them in 5 or less games. I'm not saying they wouldn't win.
Right.
I'm not saying LA wouldn't win the series, but I think it's going at least 6 for sure.
Well, they work. They work. They come to work every night.
And they buy in, which to your point, you would think that goes without saying, but we know it doesn't.
I just love that.
It doesn't.
No, I know.
So, Raptors in action tonight with Minnesota and 10. You can hear that game right here on TSN Radio. Jack Armstrong coming up in the 6 p.m. hour from Scotiabank to help us set up that game a little bit more. And 14 in a row. No team in Canadian sports history has won 14 in a row. Which, when I read that, I was like, you're telling me those, like, Habs teams of the 70s never won, like, 15, 16 games in a row?
The Oilers in the 80s?
The Oilers in the 80s never won? Like, are we just perpetuating?
25 in a row.
Who did?
You would think they won 25 in a row, those teams.
Yeah. Like, I think there was a Montreal team in the 70s that lost 8 games.
Yeah.
I think.
No, you're right. It's something ridiculous like that. But they're wins, not, like, points in and stuff like that. Like, Canadian, you're right, like Chicago Blackhawks, which isn't Canadian, but didn't they go like some ridiculous stretch, like 28 games with points in?
Right.
But not, this is flat out 14 wins. That's it. Pretty impressive.
Right. It's incredibly impressive. And they're doing it in a variety of ways, getting big defensive stops late in games.